I'm going to show you how I installed an aftermarket axle breather vent on my 2008 Nissan Frontier. I'm going to go over why the stock breather can fail and what problems can arise because of it. This process in part would be similar for other truck models. If you find this content helpful, please like and subscribe to the channel. So underneath our rear axle, we find our differential and our axle tube. On top of it, on this right side, on this Nissan Frontier, there is a little tube called an axle vent breather that lets off positive pressure from inside the axle. This is the aftermarket one I installed, but this is where the stock one is also located. So that's where the stock one is, and that's what the stock one looks like, and it can get clogged with dirt, allowing pressure to not escape the axle, which then can create axle leaks at the axle seals, which can then ruin other components. But here is the stock breather. It's a very cheap component that, if failed, could ruin much more expensive parts. And this, again, this is where it's located, and I will go over how I installed the aftermarket kit. But the way these things work is there's positive pressure inside the axle and it lifts that cap up, letting the pressure out. But sometimes dirt can get trapped where this separates, this breather, and it won't allow it to go up, thus building up pressure, causing the axle leaks. And the axle leak will come out of your axle seals, which are located in the hub, and can then ruin your parking brake or even your normal brakes from all the axle fluid being on the rotors. So it's very important to take care of this. When I bought the vehicle, I found the axle seals leaking, and this repair stopped the axle seals leaking without me having to replace them. So this is normally the drain and fill hole for the differential. I'm just kind of showing you all the components going over it. But this axle is what fills up with pressure. And after a certain amount, that breather opens, letting it out, thus keeping all the fluid inside the axle where it needs to be. And it's located at the top because that's where the air is, and that lets the pressure out. And if it has failed your axle seals, where I'm pointing the camera right now, you'll see axle fluid, differential fluid coming out of the axle seals. So here's the aftermarket kit. It simply screws in, and you clamp down this hose. You run the hose along the frame rail, attaching it with zip ties along the way. And basically, we're just extending this vent from being above the axle. I'm just raising it with this long rubber tubing. See, I attached it to the frame rail, and I route it all the way up, the rear frame of the car up into the rear tail light. So after I secured the lines here, I come to the back and I remove the tail light, which is a couple 10mm bolts. After we undo those, we can expose the inside where the tail light is, and you'll see how I've already installed the one-way filter to not allow any dust into the tube. And now my breather vents into here where it's a little more protected from the elements. You can see it still gets dirty in there, but it won't get caked with dirt and not allow it to breathe like this one. And I've had this installed for a while now, maybe a couple years. I wish I would have filmed this video when I installed it, but we're here now, and it's been working great. I've had no axle leaks, differential fluid leaks anywhere, so it's been working great. You might want to periodically look at this filter to make sure it's not clogged. Maybe poke something through the end, but with it facing down like that, I mean, it really shouldn't be clogged, and the pressure should be relieving it out. So we just button this all back up, and the problem's solved. So if you haven't done this, at the very least, check yours and replace the stock one, or get one of these aftermarket kits, because it will save you your axle seals and tons of money down the road. So if you found this content helpful, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel.